Namaskar. Hello and welcome to PGurus channel. I'm your host Sri Iyer. I apologize for the slight delay in starting this program. We have with us the Emperor of Delhi, or you can say the Nawab of Delhi Sultanate, Abhijit Iyer-Khan, and he's going to deign and tell us a few thoughts on what he thinks about all the things that is happening all around us. Nawab Sahib, Namaskar and welcome to PGurus channel.
Vetrivel.
The only Nawab who says Vetrivel to greet his subjects. So Abhijit, let's take a quick look at what's happening with this resolution by the Bahrain Parliament about Atiq, a gangster turned politician, being encountered. Whatever happened. But what is the problem with Bahrain and before that Qatar?
Look, first of all, let's talk about Bahrain's parliament. Bahrain is 60% Shia. Okay. Their parliament, on the other hand, is not 60% Shia. So, ये काय का parliament है ये? किसका parliament है ये?
See, the thing is, there is always Al Jazeera ready to put out all this stuff. And suddenly we all go into a panic. Go ahead.
Yeah. So, who the hell gives a shit about who this parliament is?
Well,
right. It's.
Go ahead. I thought you wanted a response. Go ahead.
So, do you remember when they crushed the entire this thing? Bahrain had a fantastic uprising by the Shia. They crushed it. So this
when was this Orange Revolution?
This was when that entire this thing happened. No, the all the what was it called? The Arab Spring bullshit.
Arab Spring, right.
And all the neighboring countries had to send in their troops to crush it.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So screw them. Nobody really gives a shit. Yeah, the Bahrainis themselves don't give a shit about their parliament, yaar. The Indian sweep at Bahrain airport, at Manama airport, is probably higher up than their members of parliament.
Now let's take a quick look at the other things that's happening around, such as some questions. Abhijit, you've been away for a few weeks now, and welcome back. I'm hoping that we'll go through these questions as quickly as possible. And let's start with the questions, please. Quite a few questions as you've been missed. Maximilian wants to know, is recent spurt in the Khalistani events a direct reaction to India's response to West in the Ukraine war? Had Jaishankar gone overboard?
No. Look, I've made my views on Jaishankar clear in the past. So this has nothing to do with Jaishankar. This has a lot to do with the fact of the systemic rot in our MEA. We've been warning. You tell me, Shri, ever since we started this AMA, what was it, 3-4 years back?
Yeah.
More?
Yeah.
Have I been warning about the Khalistanis? Yeah. I personally have been warning the government about the Khalistanis based on, former Prime Minister Stephen Harper's own office, based on his party's institute, the McDonald-Laurier Institute's own work for the better part of the last 10 years. Okay. They never took it seriously because we've had a string of dunces appointed as ambassadors to Canada. Only the latest ambassador, he's just given up. Fantastic guy, Ajay Bisaria. He's very, cold and to the point. Usko bas kaam se matlab hai, he doesn't bullshit around. He was the only one that took it seriously. Uske pehle sab ke sab were more interested in self-promotion. ठीक है ना? Now, when that is the case, you haven't taken it seriously. It has grown beyond all proportion. It has grown beyond all proportion in London as well. Thankfully, in London also, we have a fantastic ambassador right now, Vikram Doraiswamy, who's actually looking after the problem, But look, what Bisaria and Doraiswamy can do is kind of rearguard action too late. The problem is already metastasized. When you could have gone in and killed the tumor when it was just a fledgling, now, the invasive surgery is too great. How do we do it? It is being done, but this has been coming for the last 10, 12 years, and there's absolutely no excuse for sleeping on the job.
One of the things I'm hearing is that the UK-India Free Trade Agreement treaty is predicated on UK acting on many of its Khalistanis. I think if they don't do it, I think India is not going to sign it. So we have to see what UK decides to do. In this, they have more to lose than India, in my opinion. I could be wrong. Your thoughts, Abhijit?
See, it's very simple out here. Do you think they're going to lose votes for the sake of a free trade agreement? I think not. I think not. So that's
all right. We'll see how it plays out. Yeah. Next question, please. Arvind TSY wants to know, first DMK Files gets released with multimedia cover fire. Next, G-Square properties get raided. Are these just attempts to make DMK pliable for forging a new alliance?
No. Look, basically what has happened out here is that, the capacity to detect fraud is very significant. Because the entire this thing has been increased very significantly. The number of people looking at financial fraud in the country, BED or whatever. So no, I don't think it's actually being done for that reason, because it isn't for an alliance, that is for sure. Because I think with Annamalai, they've perceived their own strategic opportunity to win votes entirely by themselves and become senior partners. So it's not for the sake of an alliance, that is for sure.
Next question, please. Maliban Bhattacharya wants to know, if you happen to go by Twitter, a lot of CCP bots have been attacking India, Vishwa jibes and Russian bots attacking Israel. Any specific reason for that?
No, it's just always been the case. There's nothing new.
Next question, please. Maliban. What is so special about Scandinavian countries that they top in each and every parameter? What lesson should India learn from them? Your favorite English dish/dessert. One at a time, sorry.
Wait. One at a time, please.
Yeah.
Look, first, the Scandinavian countries do have a very high standard of living. Okay. Second is the fact that they are socialist countries. All four of them are heavily socialist countries with extremely high taxes and things. So, every time a communist loses an argument, they'll always go back to Norway, Sweden, Finland, and Denmark for everything. Okay. They'll never tell you why Norway, Sweden, Finland, Denmark. We've gone into details of every single case in a previous episode of PGurus. Check that out, because each one of them, their wealth had very little to do with socialism. They are rich in spite of socialism because of extraneous factors. It has nothing to do with socialism. And the problem is, when everyone wants to propagate a certain method of socialism, they look to Scandinavia for it. And so Scandinavian best practices are deemed best practices for everybody else, ignoring, of course, Norwegian oil, the Finnish shipping cluster, the Danish and Swedish war exports, right? So this is just one of those things where you're looking for validation of your things by saying, oh, these countries do it and this is the standard for us to do it. Second reason that it happens is they are very small countries. Now, when your entire country is equivalent to the population of South Delhi alone, not even Delhi. Delhi itself is about 10 times the size of Sweden in population. Just South Delhi alone will have the population, which is the lowest density part of Delhi, will have the population of Sweden. In that particular case, you see, things are very easy to do. You can have consultative processes and things like that, whatnot. It cannot be maximized to the large scale. So this is a fallacy that happens where small countries are compared to, it's literally like comparing apples and oranges. India really has very few to no lessons to learn from them, boss, because these things are not scalable. A model for it's called, because you're the engineer, you can tell me what the principle is called. But, in shipbuilding, there is this principle. I don't know. I've forgotten what the name is. But every 1% change in technical drawings results in a 90% change in, 1% change in design results in a 90% change in technical drawings, because it's simply not, Lego blocks where you just remove these, extend this, and put it all back together. Okay, it's not a scalable model. So the scalability of these patterns is virtually non-existent here. Maybe there's one or two here or there which I elude, but largely most of the things that they are praised for are not applicable to India. And my favorite English dish or dessert, I think, has to be fish and chips. And dessert is, it's an Anglo-Indian dessert, bread pudding, because the British don't make it good anymore. But bread pudding, I think bread pudding is my all-time favorite dessert.
Next question, please. Arvind TSY, those opposing SB 403 are playing up to anti-Hindu narrative. Is it a good strategy? Even the BJP has shown us that Kamandal can succeed only if it's nicely couched in Mandal.
Look, it's the only strategy right now. Because remember, every time that Wahab woman raises it, everybody behind her is either a Muslim or a Sikh. There's literally one or two Hindus standing behind her. Rental Hindus, Ali rental Hindus, right? So I don't know what a good strategy in countering this is. Basically, this is something I had been recommending for the last 2 years. Come up with a Hindu phobia meter. I think those two chaps at Rutgers University have come up with a very good barometer of Hindu phobia, which can be, numerically put up, where you then start imposing a Hindu phobia tax on all California companies in India, if the resolution goes through. Okay. These are lots of things that we can do. The question is, does the Indian government have the cojones to do it, or the brains to do it? And I think not.
Nice usage of the Mexican word there. You guys can look it up, what he meant.
Abhishek, it's spelled cojones, by the way.
Yeah. Just like San Jose.
Cojones. Yes, San Jose. Sorry. We call it
Abhishek
San
wants to know. Abhishek wants to know, is Palestine a fully sovereign country? What was the population of the Palestine region during 1947?
No, there's no such thing as a sovereign Palestine. And this, Abhishek, you need to look this up in Wikipedia, boss. I'm not Wikipedia.
Varun James Reddy wants to know, Abhijit, what is your opinion on Operation Brasstacks and on the tenure of K Sundarji as army chief?
Very good and very, very dangerous, both. I don't think he understood restraint, but he was one of the most brilliant people I have ever met. I can honestly tell you, and I was just a little kid, but it impacted me. And I think a lot of people who I respected, much older to me, have that exact same opinion. Truly brilliant, as in genius level how, and yet quite dangerous. His military ideas were more or less accurate. The problem was his willingness to keep the civilian leadership out of the loop, which is a very dangerous thing. You can't have that in a democracy where the military decides to start a war all on its own. But brasstacks was the right thing at the right time. Remember, we needed to put pressure on Pakistan at that time, and it was required. And Operation Falcon that he carried out with China was also something that we required at that point of time. Rajiv Gandhi nixing it. See, you can understand why Rajiv Gandhi nixed it as well. Because, see, Rajiv Gandhi has to think about de-escalation. It's one of the things that Indian army folks never think about, de-escalation. But truly a brilliant man. Again, I say that with reservation because of all the things we know of how he deliberately kept, no matter how good your intentions, you can't keep an elected leadership out of the loop like that. You can't run policy, boss. You have not been elected to run policy.
Next question, please. Teja Mysore wants to know, what is the difference between the military / quasi-democratic regimes of Pakistan versus Myanmar?
Myanmar is not even remotely quasi-democratic, huh? But when it was, um, literally nothing, except that the Burmese know how to play the Chinese much better than the Pakistanis. The Chinese have never, no country has been able to deal with China the way Burma has. The Burmese know exactly how to deal with China, and they've demonstrated this over and over and over again. Which is why, when I see idiotic analyses in India saying that, Burma is, this is the pro China faction, there is no pro China faction or pro India faction out there. They are both anti India and anti China at the same time. They know how to screw India over, they know how to screw China over. They've just not had to screw India over because India doesn't exert the kind of influence on Burma that China does. Okay. Unlike, say, Pakistan, who are complete tattoos who don't know how to deal with China. Well, I mean, is that even dealing with China? But whatever. Also, they are not in the dire straits. They've never been in the dire straits that Pakistan has been, and they've never crossed the threshold. Burma is not seen as a destabilizing force in the region. Pakistan is seen as destabilizing by all its neighbors: Iran, Afghanistan, India, and China as well.
Next question, please. Vamsi wants to know, did Syrian President Assad commit war crimes and crimes against humanity, or it's propaganda by West to topple his regime?
Yeah, boss. I mean, look, a third world country, you don't have the kind of human capital and precision guided weapons and this thing to, uh, you know, uh, mm, restrict the military effects just to military targets. Okay. Did they commit war crimes? Yes, significant and several war crimes. Yes. The question is, what do you do? When your country is breaking up and going to the dogs, what the hell are you meant to do? I don't know. Could the storming of Operation Blue Star and the storming of this thing be considered a war crime? The last part, where the terrorists hid amongst pilgrims and the firing from the Indian army was indiscriminate, could have been classified as a war crime. It probably would have had it been a full-scale civil war. Yeah, sure. Has Assad committed war crimes? Yes, but could it have been avoided? No. This is how third world warfare happens. It is indiscriminate.
Next question, please. Guts the Black Swordsman. What can be a possible solution, according to you, in case of mass immigration from Pakistan? I would rather like to see them die of hunger or drown in the sea than have them leech off us.
Basically, you need Gatling guns, boss. There's no way they can be allowed in. This isn't even an option letting them in. Okay, so
There are
you
like two
need to
or three
make sure.
layers, right? The walls are 2 or 3 layers,
Yeah, but
so
see,
it
they're
will be
not going
easy
to
to find.
stand. Once there is, see, they are there to prevent against infiltration. Infiltration is very different when you have millions of people walking through the border or even thousands. It isn't going to work because even if hundreds die, they'll cut through the barbed wire fence and get through. Right? So you have to start making statements right now and build the international opinion right now for mass shootings on the border to prevent people from coming in. You probably need those Apaches and Mi-35s with their Gatling guns stationed out there that can kill large numbers of people at the time. But there is no way in hell you can let a radicalized population, not one. One leads to bomb blasts. 100,000 leads to 100,000. It's a synergistic effect. It lead to 1,000,000 bomb blasts. No way in hell you can let them in.
But does the current government have the Mexican word you mentioned to do this?
No.
Varun James Reddy again. Abhijit, why does Tam Bram have higher IQ despite being vegetarians?
Varun, this is the problem of endogamy. You also have a higher number of Down syndrome in the Tam Bram community. You know this, right? Significantly higher Down syndrome is one of the byproducts of endogamy, chronic endogamy, which is how you also have higher IQ.
Guts the Black Sportsman wants to know, is there any freedom fighter from India that you have great admiration for? Also, would you count Chhatrapati Shivaji as a freedom fighter?
Look, I think freedom fighter is very exclusive to the nation state period, right? When we identify as India. So previous people, I'm very, uh, I think Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj is a Hindu hero, but I won't say he's a freedom fighter because freedom fighter has a sort of national connotation to it, right? And the nation state of India, as it's imagined in the modern Westphalian sense, culturally, of course, we've always been a country, but in the Westphalian sense is only in the post-British, because it was an imposition of a Westphalian sort of notion on us. But freedom fighters exclusively from the anti-British period, no, not really.
Vamsi wants to know, do you think there must be constitutional provision where if an amendment is approved in a referendum, it can be challenged in a court of law? If judges strike down that amendment, they must be charged with treason.
This is a self-created jurisprudence where it can be challenged in a court of law, where the courts themselves declare the constitutional validity. It is not there in the constitution. Okay. So the answer is to impeach any judge who takes on that. And you have to impeach the next 3 or 4 judges who take it on. The issue is you need to have a 2/3 majority both in the Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha, which you don't have. So till
Next
then,
one,
it
please.
will be there. Once you get a 2/3 majority, you'll be able to do it.
Abhishant Shetty wants to know, hi Abhijit, do you think there should be a paid maternal leave? I think it is somewhat stupid.
No, I support paid maternal leave. Depending on the size of the company, I think there should be paid maternal leave. I think if you're a high value company, there should be paid maternal leave. There is a case for low value companies also having paid maternal leave. The question is, how will a company that has low value addition sustain it? Okay, so these are solutions that can be provided when you're a much richer country, where there are more collective solutions to the issue of maternal leave and things like that. But paid paternal leave, I absolutely oppose. But maternal leave paid, yes. Subject to feasibility. I don't think it's terribly feasible in India. Is it unfair on the mother? Yes. But remember, having a baby is a choice. There are very cheap choices to not have babies in India.
Abhishek wants to know, sir, what was the real reason why US invaded Iraq?
Well, I mean, no conspiracy theory there. They basically wanted to reshape the world and bring freedom and democracy to the whole world. It wasn't because of the oil, by the way. Not just democracy, freedom and democracy.
You've been listening to a lot of Vivek Ramaswamy.
Not Vivek Ramaswamy. This is what George Bush used to say, remember? What they need is freedom and democracy. If you're either with us or you're against us. God bless America.
That's a good one. Arvind TSY wants to know, a speaker on PGurus recently described India's ancient tradition of democracy, which existed within a construct of monarchy but without modern features like elections. Do you also concur?
No, we had elections as well. You didn't have a party system and things like that. They were more like oligarchies, really. But the party was kind of like a family party, kind of whatever. But we absolutely did have democracy. We did have elections. People were elected. There was, you would put, same like the Greek ostrakon, you would put little shards of clay for the person that you wanted. But look, it's a pre-modern democratic system. This is just an evolution. It's a new method introduced to an existing system, and that's fine.
Next one, please. Ishan Sharma wants to know, Abhijit, what is your take on PM going to churches and having meetings with the pastors? Do you think the way they won Northeast and Goa, it has given them confidence to the same in Kerala?
I think the way they've won the Northeast has given the Christians of Kerala confidence in the BJP. The second thing that has happened is the way the Congress has alienated the Christians. Because remember, the Congress used to be the Christian party. The 40% Hindus in Kerala were never taken seriously. It was the remaining 25% Muslims, which the CPIM represented, and the 35% uh, Christians that the Congress represented that were pandered to out there. Now, what has happened is Anil Antony shifting to full disclosure. Anil Antony is a very dear friend of mine. He's been a dear friend of mine for a very, very long time. But Anil Antony shifting to the BJP has become the face of what was happening on the ground for a long time, where Rahul Gandhi chose Muslim appeasement over the traditional Christian appeasement that his party used to do. Remember, Namboodiripal's government, the first democratically elected communist government, was sacked by Nehru because of full-on opposition by the Christian churches. The Hindus didn't have any opposition to it. It was, and remember, Namboodiripal is a Hindu Brahmin, right? Was a Hindu Brahmin. The Christian churches opposed him. That is why they sacked that government and threw a lot of communists in jail. So they have given up on their traditional constituency. The clearest sign of that was Rahul Gandhi choosing Wayanad, which has a Muslim majority. Okay, so you are now seeing the Christians who were worried about the BJP looking at complete disappointment from the Congress, seeing Northeastern Christians having no problems whatsoever with the BJP, now having that belief validated. I think you're going to see changes, the beginning of changes in the next election. And he needed to go meet those pastors for that to happen. I can't hear you. You're muted.
Sorry, there's some outside noise. I muted myself. My mistake. Indians go overboard when a PIO gets a top political appointment. Is the euphoria valid? Do these PIOs support India when there is a need?
Never. They just look after themselves.
It's not a never. I totally disagree with that. It's not a never. It's a case-to-case basis. There are many who know and understand and who do act in the interest of the Hindu Americans also. Sorry.
Not the celebrated ones. I'm sorry. Not the celebrated ones. Okay, the non-celebrated ones maybe, but the Sundar Pichai, Indira Nui, where ennallam irukku? Who's the Microsoft?
Nadella, Satya Nadella of Adobe, Shantanu Narayan
all of them,
Adobe, yeah.
All of them will do diddly squat for you, okay? But the more you kick Indians in the cojones,
there is
the more
one
they
VC. Hold on, there's one VC who's been speaking up for the Hindus now, Asha Jadeja Motwani.
Ooh. Yeah, Asha but that Jadeja is one. Motwani. Asha Jadeja is not the entire community.
I know, but at least look, she is somebody who's in the VC group. At least
you're quoting the one exception that proves the point that they generally do not.
I understand. These people are still looking at anything as a USP. What is your unique selling proposition? You know, speaking in favor of Hindu Americans is still in their parlance not USP. Go ahead.
Yeah. So that's it. So no. She has just proven my point by giving you exactly one name. Asha is a very dear friend of mine, but she's just that one person.
Next question, please. चैतन्य टकली अरे यार थोड़ा हिंदी में लिख तो ना नाम अपना टुकली है टकली है क्या है ठीक से बोलने दो मुझे हाउ कम थाईलैंड वाज इट्स टकली okay how come Thailand was never colonized while rest of the neighbors were?
Very good question. So see, it had a lot to do with the need for buffer zones and things like that, right? The British needed a buffer zone between British Burma and French Indochina. And Thailand was perfectly stationed to be that buffer between French Indochina and British this thing. They did not want a direct border at all. They wanted to avoid a direct border. So it was just a happy coincidence that everybody's interests met.
Next question, please. Giridhar Mamadi wants to know, do you foresee any of our borders getting hot before 2024 general elections, either of our own volition, on our own volition, or by the wish of the dragon?
Possibly. See, there's a school of thought which believes that in order to defeat Modi, they will have to teach India a lesson. And the opportunity for that is not after the election, it's before the election. I'm skeptical, but I see the logic behind it. And the problem is Xi Jinping is genuinely mad. So he is one of those guys who might actually end up doing it. But I think generally they will be sane. The other side, I'm not too sure about. Remember, the killing of the 5 Jawans in the ambush about 3-4 days back is still gone unanswered. ठीक है, उसका भी कुछ नहीं हुआ है. तो देखते हैं क्या होता है.
All right. Looks like we are done with our questions today. That was a really quick call. Thank you so much, Abhijit. Just when we plan for a long session, see, this is what happens. For 2 weeks, you're off. So people are kind of like, oh, there was a guy called Abhijit. That's why I'm reinstating you as the Sultanate of Delhi, to the Sultanate of Delhi, and start saying some good verses. So, all right. Thank you so much, Abhijit. And viewers, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to click on the bell button for notifications. Abhijit is back on Twitter. You can follow him at @𝖼𝐼𝑅_. Can you have the strings, please? There you go. It's 2 V's, and then mine is 𝙒𝙗𝖼𝐼𝑅1 and PGurus1. What does that mean?
What does that mean? Vidya and the Vedas in Bharatnatyam.
Oh, okay. Good. That's a mudra. That's good. Thank you so much, sir. And we will be back again next Monday, time permitting. I hope you're going to be available next Monday.
Did you just call me sir?
Oh, Nawab ji.
You just misgendered me.
Galati ho gayi.
No, but you misgendered me. You just misgendered me. You didn't even ask me.
What should I call you? What should I call you?
For now, sir will do. That's fine. You caught me at the right time.
You have to do that bracket open something/something and then bracket close. You haven't done that in your name. So I don't know.
Yeah, not doing it ever. Yeah. Not doing it ever.
So you are my good friend, Abhijit. Let's leave it that way. The sir just inadvertently came out. Sometimes it comes out. And thank you so much again. Namaskar.